Today I'm going to be changing the liner out on this FAE. It's a UML, SSL, 150, all those numbers and letters. Anyway, the liner in it's pretty gashed up, and so we're going to be cutting the liner out, putting a new one in, and we're going to have so to do that you have to remove these side covers. Bearings have to come off on both sides, and then the drum will drop out the bottom, which will show you all that in the video. So. Now that we've got those covers off the side here, we're going to be opening this cover up on this side. And then we're going to get down in here, and we're going to have to take this guy off just so we can loosen that bolt up there. We're going to adjust these tensioners so we can fully shift the motor forward. Then once we've got the motor shifted forward, we can take that belt off and start getting those pulleys out of the way. We're going to need to get this pulley off, and so hopefully it won't come off without too much trouble. Sometimes they are a real pain, but hopefully this one goes well. First thing you're going to do once you get under here, you're going to take this loose. I've already cracked all of these loose. You're going to take that out so that you can get to this large 14mm Allen bolt right here. You just want to get that good and loose. That's what keeps the motor from sliding forward and backwards. You want to put that back in so you don't get any junk down in the motor. And then there's another bolt just like this underneath on the bottom. And you need to get these bolts pretty good and loose, as sometimes you'll think you've got them, the motor will move a little bit and then it'll bind up. It's better to just back them out plenty, more than you think you need to. Now I've lost my socket. 3 hours later. Ah, there it is. You want to loosen these up, or at least you want to get this nut backed out, and you're going to back this all the way to the top of the bolt on the top and on the bottom. Then you've also got another 2 bolts down here on the bottom. There's 2 pieces here. There's one here, and then it bolts to the wall and it bolts down there. So you got to loosen both of them up for the motor to be able to slide. So I just got everything loosened up here. I just stuck a 2x4 in there to get that motor to slide forward. And now you can just kind of walk this belt off. There's that. Then the next thing we're going to do is get this pulley off right here. Next, take off this bottom pulley. We're going to pop all these loose. Then we're going to take 4 of these. We're going to find the little slot, which is right here. We're going to skip one and go right here. You want them on the ones with the threads closest to the outside. So you're going to put all 4 of these in. All right, so all those are run up now. So now we're just gonna block the mulcher from turning, and then we're gonna start cranking down on those manually, just a little bit at a time. Don't want to strip any holes out, and we're gonna beat it with a hammer on occasion too. So again, you're going to want to go for the one with the innermost is what you're looking for. The threads, or the threads closest to the face. That's what you want to put the pullers in each time, and then that should get it off. This one came off. It was okay. It wasn't too bad. You really just got to beat them to death with a hammer, and that's pretty much. You want to beat the center shaft, not any of the rest of the stuff. Beat the center shaft with a hammer, and PB blaster, let it soak for a while. That'll really help a lot, make a big difference. But yeah, this came off overall is a lot better than some. So now we're gonna get this thing outside and get it all washed up so we can tear it down and it won't be too messy, because we do not want to contaminate the bearings on this one as we're not replacing them. So I want to make sure everything's good and clean in here. So we're gonna take this thing out there and wash it up. So I did not want to break my phone. As you saw, it just tumbled. So I just finished washing it without. But anyway, we got it all nice and cleaned up. So one other thing I was going to mention while we were out here, this Stihl RB 800 power washer. It's fantastic. Absolutely love these things. Have not had any problem with it. Have had it almost 2 years and we use it all the time. It's just been incredible. So highly recommend those for washing anything like this. It may not be as good as some commercial stuff, I don't know, but as far as just for the price, I don't know that you can beat it. It's pretty solid, no issues. So highly recommend that. One other thing I was going to mention is we do not use the deer for mulching. It is just a carrier unit for doing stuff like this, and I'm going to come out with a review on this eventually. So hopefully that'll be soon, that I'll have some time to actually do that. Now that we've got that pulley off and everything cleaned up, we're going to pop off all these 5mm Allen bolts here. Now this next part is kind of tricky sometimes, as far as this plate, the other side just falls right off, but this side, you got to find something that can grip it, as it's just floating on here, but it's floating on the shaft in between here. Sometimes it gets kind of stuck, and you need something to be, you can't twist it because it has a pin in there, so spinning it doesn't work. So you just got to find some way to kind of jar it loose. Usually tapping around with a hammer is about the only way to get it sometimes. Want to keep this as clean as possible this time, since we are not replacing these bearings. So I'm going to just put that back on there until we've got everything else broken loose, so that we don't drop junk down into that bearing. I'm going to take this grease fitting off right here. This is a 14mm Allen socket on these large ones again. Don't watch this. 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 And now we're ready to take these bolts off. This is how you would always do it. Don't ever stand on a ratchet. And there she is. So now we actually, for this case, since we're not changing the bearing, we actually don't really have to, well, yeah, actually we do, never mind. Alright, so there we are. So now we're just going to run our threader bolts into these holes to pull that whole bearing out. Don't forget to support the drum first. So you'll want to put something under here so your skid steer doesn't sag, and then you'll want to put something under the drum itself. Alright, so the other side is all off. Now I'm working over here on this side again. The other side is the exact same procedure as this side. The only difference you have is the shaft on the other side does not stick out. This is just a flat plate. So that's your only difference between the sides. So we're going to take off the C-clip on here. There's a small spacer behind it, which you'll see in a minute. Actually, my bad, there is no spacer on this side, just that C-clip is all you got to take off. And then you'll be ready to remove this. I'm going to put this back on to keep from getting any contaminants in there while we are pulling this off. So I'm just going to leave that sitting on there for now. I've got these two bolts I got at Ace Hardware. It's the only place I can find that stocks ones with this many threads on it. But it's a M16 bolt 2.0 are the threads. I'm not sure how long these are, but they're a little bit longer than everybody else seemed to have. I need to just order some online that are longer so I don't have to put spacers back here, because you'll see in a minute I'm going to have to put spacers behind this. But these do a lot better than the last ones I had. So we just got this bearing off. Hold on. Okay, so I just got this bearing off. So now what you're gonna do, you're gonna pull this little guy out, put him down there. So that'll allow us, once we'll have to take this piece off too, held on by these two bolts. And then we might be able to get by without taking these feet off. We'll have to take the feet off at least one side. Probably I'll just take them off this side. But we might be able to get by without having to do it on both sides, but we'll see. I think we'll have to do it on both sides actually, now that I think about it, but we'll see. This is about ready to come out now. Just got to get that foot off, and then that side will be good. Go right out here. Also, not a huge Can-Am fan, but this 6-foot bed is fantastic. Great for carrying all this stuff around like this to job sites or wherever you got to get to, because this thing can go pretty much anywhere with its winch and everything. But here's the new liner here. So you would think they would start putting something a little bit thicker. I'm assuming this is, it looks like about 1/4 inch thick, and I would really like to see at least some 1/2 inch thick, because these just don't, I mean, it's, when you see the other one, it's just ripped. And so is, we've got another one into same problem, liner's just ripped open. So I just finished getting everything removed. You basically just take off these 4 bolts right here, 1, 2, 3, 4 on both sides. Little plate drops out, and then you also remove the foot off this side over here, and then you're ready to lift it up, and that drum's gonna go right through that little gap, and I'm gonna try not to knock it over when I lift it up. Definitely want to double check this, because you do not want to knock that drum off on your floor. So I'm going to show you the issue here real quick with the what happened. There's your good look at that while we're over here. But this liner right here ripped right up the middle, and the problem, the whole purpose of these is just to add an extra line of defense so that you're not actually damaging the body itself of your mulcher. So we're going to go through and cut this whole liner off, and then have it re-welded. So anyway, that's the disassembly of it, and we may not get all the welding on it, but we on video, but got her all loaded up. Didn't want to have to unload the ASV, so that we can just start to work first thing tomorrow. So about to head to the welding shop and get this liner swapped out. just finished getting this all back together, got the liner back in. A couple things I wanted to mention. Basically, the installation is exactly like the taking it apart. It's exactly the same, just reverse the steps. You have to drive the bearings on, obviously. There's nothing really weird on going back together. Just make sure you get all your spacers in the right direction and the right number of spacers in the right place. So the other thing is, one thing you definitely need to do that we learned with this one is you're going to want to brace from this face to this face whenever you go, before you drop the drum out. Put that in, because some of these from the factory are going to be a little tighter than others, and since this is all machine welded, this liner, with this being the first replacement, when it came off, these actually came closer together. So when we put it back together, the drum was wedged, so we had to stretch it back apart. And anyway, just be a lot easier if you brace it before you take it apart and then weld the new one in. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just make sure you brace it. Otherwise, everything you've seen so far is good. I think that's pretty much it. This liner looks really good. So yeah, we've hopefully got some more repair videos coming soon. We still need to get on the review of the ASV and the deer, so that'll be coming out soon as well. And I think that's it.